looking and all of a sudden the Lord went like this, and he grabbed me, and he said, I thought you said you'd do anything I asked you to.
He took you all the way back to the day you got saved.
To the day I got saved, brother. You know, you can laugh at Gideon putting out the fleece all you want. You know, I've heard all kinds of stories about that. Okay,
I have too.
But I'm gonna tell you what, it worked.
If I was in Gideon's shoes, I'd have wanted every one of them assurances.
You're going against those Midianites and their innumerable number.
Yeah, I would want all those assurances.
He wanted some assurance. He said, "Well, do you think you would be willing to do that?" And I was very spiritual. I said, "Well, we need to pray about it." And so I'm there listening to all this red hot preaching for 5 days, you know. At the end of the fifth day, man, you know, I'm just saying, wow, this is amazing. And so then they had one of the guys said on Friday evening after the service, they said, how many of you like to go up to World Trade Center? We were right outside New York City.
New York, right across the river.
He said, we're going to take a tour of New York City at night, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And he said, then we're going to go up to the top of the World Trade Center. I said, count me in. I'm going. So I went up, and we got up there, and the top of that thing was all glass. Everything was glass.
Right.
Now, it was a crystal clear night, and all you could see was millions of lights.
Far as the eye could see.
You could see into New Jersey. You could see everywhere, okay? Right. I mean, you could see you're 103 floors up.
Right.
And I'm walking around there with about a $5 cup of coffee in my hand because they had a little cafe up there.
Right.
And I'm walking around. They're all talking and fellowshipping, and I'm just walking around inside looking out this glass, walking all the way around the inside perimeter of the thing. Right. And I'm looking at them, and all of a sudden the Lord went like this, and he grabbed me, and he said, I thought you said you'd do anything I asked you to.
He took you all the way back to the day you got saved.
To the day I got saved, brother. Now, this is the honest to God truth. I said, that's right. He said, you see all these lights? Where those lights are, there's people. He said, I've tried for 2 years to get you down there to that mission, and you won't go.
Ooh.
He named it. He said 2 years. I wouldn't even pray about it. Would not. Neither one of us. We said, we are not doing that.
Yeah.
So what am I doing to God? So he said, I want you to go.
Wow.
Couldn't get much clearer, but it can get clearer. I'm going to show you how it got clearer. Okay. All right, now hang on. So I came back that night, and next day we got to talking about what happened, and I said, here's what the Lord did in my heart, and I said, I know it was God. Not an hour later, we get a phone call. It's Raleigh Holt. It's Raleigh Holt.
Oh my!
I get on the phone. Yes, sir. Brother Chuck. He said, would you pray about it this time? Just as if him and God had been talking, and said, and the Lord said, he won't pray no matter what. He hasn't prayed one time.
You call him. Ask you one more time.
Would you pray about it this time? And I said, just a minute. And I hung on the phone, and I looked at her, and I said, it's Raleigh. I said, he wants to know if we'll pray about it this time. And after what I just told her, she went, she agreed with me. I said, yes, sir. Well, we'll pray about it. And he said, good. We're having a board meeting Thursday night. I want you two down there.
My goodness.
Gets better than that.
How could it?
So we still don't want to go.
Sure.
We did not want to go.
The flesh is the flesh.
Yes, sir.
And flesh is weak.
I said, there's only a certain way I'm going down there. I said, number one, I don't plan on taking my 3 kids and you down there and having some apartment over top of some bar or some bowling alley or something to where we never have a night's rest.
Right.
and I'm in a bad neighborhood, and I got to raise my kids in a horrible environment. I said, I don't feel spiritual enough to do that.
That's a good argument. That's a good
I
argument.
told her, I said, so I'm not planning on doing that. I'm
Right.
not planning on moving down there.
Yeah.
I said,
Not gonna do it.
I said, now we had just had our car that was probably before it got wrecked, worth about $1,400. Okay, it was an old Ford Granada.
Yes. Yes.
Didn't even have air conditioning in it. Okay, I mean that's how old it was. And I was on visitation. Somebody rear-ended me,
Oh my goodness.
and they didn't have any insurance, and it was their fault.
Oh my goodness.
And I couldn't pay to have it fixed, so I just was riding around in a busted-up car. But it still worked.
You're sure, but
But I was not going to be. I said, even we're gonna have to live out here because we had our kids at Carroll Christian School. Don't ask me how we were able to afford. I was 2 out of the 3 that were in school.
hand of God.
We were just. I mean, we had nothing. We had. I don't even. I think we had a bank account. I don't know that we had $1,000 in it
Oh my
total.
goodness.
And we're trying to put 2 kids in Christian school. Got another one coming along. Busted up car. And he wants me to go down there every day to the Baltimore Rescue Mission in a busted up car. How am I going to pay for gas? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And I said, this ain't going to happen. So here, I said, here's what I told her. I set her down and I said, is God God? Yeah. Can God do anything?
Sure.
She said, yeah. I said, you really believe that? He can do anything. Yeah. Okay. Well, then we're going to find out. I said, because I want to know God's will. I said, now, I'm gonna, with you. I said we're gonna come together with some things that we have to have, or we're not going to feel right about doing this at all.
Yes.
I'm not going to go down there and be out of God's will.
Right.
Okay, that's what I don't want to do. So I said, number one, I said I don't want to move to Baltimore. So that means I want to be able to live out here in Carroll County, so our kids can keep going to this Christian school.
Right.
That was number one.
Uproot them and then take them into a
Now,
horrible.
number two, I said,
car
I don't know. I don't
car
know.
ain't gonna cut it.
I don't know that they have a parsonage. I don't think they do for the mission. I said, I know this. If they put us in some place, and as long as we're working for them, we have a place to stay. I said, that's great. But what happens when I get old
Right.
and wear out, and they don't want me anymore?
Yeah.
And I said, then where are we going to go? We're gonna try to find a place to rent at that age.
Right.
When we're not even working anymore,
Right.
we're living on retirement.
Yep.
I said, so to me, number two is we need to have our own home.
Yep.
That's
I
a
like
requirement. We're going to have our own
Very
home.
good.
I said, number three, we need a car.
Yep.
This car is not going to cut it. I said, we can't go down there back and forth doing that.
Right.
I said, number four, we can't afford the gas if we did have a car. I said, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and so I said, just those 4 things right there.
Any
And-
one of
And we got to have a salary that's going to enable us to pay the mortgage on the rent.
yeah, and feed our kids in Christian
Oh,
school.
and by the way, let's add another one to it. We don't have a down payment for a house.
Yes.
You
How's
buy a
that all
house.
going to work?
How's that going to work?
Yeah. So,
So
obstacles.
That friend of mine who was the student down at Pensacola Christian College with me and went into jail with me,
yes.
his mother-in-law was a loan officer in a bank up here in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And I said, I don't know anything about buying a house because I never dreamed I would have one.
Right.
Honestly, I didn't. I
Right.
thought I'd live in a parsonage the rest of my life. So I said, we haven't seen them for a while. I said, let's go up and talk to Don and Sue and see if I can talk to his mother-in-law. So we did. So I went up there and I sat down with her and I said, ma'am, I said, here's what I'm looking at. I said, I got 5 people in my family, my wife and 3 kids. I said, I am not looking for anything fancy. I said, I'm just looking for something basic. I said, just something that I can raise my kids, my family in, and to where it's decent, and it'll be okay. Doesn't have to be real big. It just has to be, what do you think I need for a down payment for a house like that? And she didn't bat an eye. And she just looked at me and said, well, you need $10,000. I said, $10,000.
Oh, yeah.
She said, yeah, that's what you need for a
Just go
down
ahead and move
payment.
mountains and part Red Seas.
Yeah, right. I said, That'll work. I said, thank you. That's my answer.
There we
now,
go.
Now I have an answer.
And I got a number.
So I went back and told her, and we thought, yeah, okay.
Yep.
So I said to her, now, it's going to have to be every one of these because 5 out of 6 means no.
Right.
I said, can God do all that? She said, yeah. I said, well, then if God wants us there, he'll do it. I said, anything less than that's not God's will, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
You can laugh at Gideon putting out the fleece all you want.
Sure.
I've heard all kinds of
Sure.
stories
I
about
have
that.
too. I have too. And
But I'm gonna tell you what, it worked.
If I was in Gideon's shoes, I'd have wanted every one of them assurances.
You're going against those Midianites and their innumerable number.
Yeah, I would want all those assurances.
He wanted
and
some
then
assurance.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm sitting here thinking I know nothing about the city. I know nothing about a rescue mission.
Right.
I'm as ignorant as a person can be, and I'm gonna go down there.
Sounds like God's giving you that Solomon wisdom again. And
so there's those things. So I said, all right. So, and all this is going on, just within the next couple of days. So we go down to the meeting, and we're in his office now, and there's these chairs around there, and there's Raleigh, and there's this guy, Ted Krug. Man, I was 34 at the time, 35, something like that. No, 37. I was 37. And this guy, he's in his 60s. Big, tall, austere-looking, serious businessman type, just all business, And he's the chairman of the board.
okay.
And then Raleigh, he's all business too. I mean, Raleigh was a serious guy. He was dying and he had a lot of problems, but he was all business. And then there was Dario Di Battista, and there was Earl Long, who was Pop Long's nephew, and there was about 6 of them on the board, I think, at the time.
Right.
So she and I go in there, and they sat down, and this honestly is how it went. He said, the chairman said, well, Brother Chuck, we're glad you're here. And he said, why do you want to be the director of the Baltimore Rescue Mission? And I said,
Let's get one thing clear.
I said, I don't. And he said, well, why are you here? I said, to get God and Raleigh Holt off my back. You can ask my wife if I didn't say that.
I love it.
I said to get God and Raleigh Holt
off my back.
Off my back. I said, I've been hounded for 2 years. I said, I can't get any rest. I said, I got to get this over with. And they all just looked at me,
Yeah.
And so he said to her, what do you think your husband's spiritual gift is? And she said, well, I don't know necessarily what his spiritual gift is, but she said, I know where his heart is. And she said, it's evangelism. She said, he loves to see people get saved.
Oh, my.
And so they're asking me, it was like ordination all over again, asking me what I believe about this doctrine and about that doctrine, and on and on and on it went. And it should.
Need to know.
It needed to be. And so, they want to know about my history, and so you already heard that. So anyway, they got done, and they didn't say anything about what my needs were.
Sure.
Not one word. I didn't bring it up.
Yeah. It's God's job.
That's
you
God's
put that
job.
in his court.
Yeah. So they said, look, we want you to step outside in the other room, and we'll call you. We're going to talk a little bit, and we'll call you when we're done. I said, okay. So we went out in the other room, and I just looked at her, and I said, now, I don't know what's going to happen when they call us in there. I said, but if God does break loose in this thing, I said, don't fall off your chair.
That's pretty good advice.
I said, just try to hang on, okay? I said, because I don't know what God's going to do.
Right.
Now remember, we haven't told them
Anything.
a word.
Not a word.
Not a word. Nobody but she, me, and God
knows about those 6 things.
That's it. So we went in there, and I'm looking around, and every one of those men had tears coming down their eyes.
Wow.
Even Mr. Businessman.
Right.
president. Oh, this is weird.
Yeah. Something's going on.
Even Raleigh Holt.
Right.
Raleigh Holt came in the room. You remember Pigpen in the Peanuts comic?
Yes.
Okay. When
Yes.
he walked, he always had a cloud.
Little
over
cloud
him.
around.
That was Raleigh. When he come in, everybody on the staff would just be silent.
Right.
Because he just was that way.
Had
He
that
just was
cloud
had that aura about him. You know.
Right.
He had tears coming down his eyes.
Wow.
So we went in there and sit down, and he said, "Brother Chuck," he said, "we know that you are the man to be the director here." And I thought, well, I'm glad you know, because I don't.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was the
I'm
first-
still waiting on the God to say some things.
yeah, well, he's coming. So he said, "We know that you probably don't want to live down here." And I said, "That's right." And he said, "So wherever you want to live, if you don't mind driving or whatever, take the time to do that." He said, "That'll be okay." So I said, "Well, that's a half a step."
Half a step.
So he said, we believe that you should have your own house." And I said, I agree. He says, "So we're prepared to give you a $10,000 on the penny.
Down payment.
$10,000 down payment for a home under these conditions."
Under these conditions.
He said, "If you stay here 5 years," he said, "and leave, then you owe us $5,000, interest free." He said, "This is an interest free loan. If you stay here 10 years, it's paid off."
It's yours.
Okay. So I thought that'll work.
That's
Possible.
honorable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's honorable.
I mean, but to the penny.
To the penny.
Yeah,
Only God.
Yeah. So he said, we've seen your car, and we know,
We've seen your car.
we know you need a car, and so we're going to put you into something that will be dependable and economical. They put me in a Ford Escort. That was just the two of us with the 3 little kids. Okay,
Yeah,
we didn't have
yeah.
a very big family
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
time. So, but it was going to be ours, and it was going to be real late model. I think it was only 2 years old, something like that.
Wow. Dependable and economical.
Okay, and they said, "You will never have to make a payment on it." He said, "You'll never have to put gas in it." He said, "The mission will pay for."
Well, these things, they're falling fast, aren't they?
He said, "The insurance, the maintenance, will take care of it all." He said, "You don't have to ever worry about that."
Wow.
I said, "Thank you, that's wonderful." He said, what was the other one? That we're going to give you a $25,000 starting salary. Now, I had never made more than $10,000 a year in 7 years in the pastorate.
Right.
So to me, that was a whole lot of money.
Yes.
Okay.
No, that was, and we're talking 37, 38, 39 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. So anyhow, he said, we will do that. And he said, you can live, let's say, anywhere that you want to if you're willing to commute. And anyway, everything fell absolutely perfectly into place. And he said, well, do you think you would be willing to do that? And I was very spiritual. I said, well, we need to pray about it.
Oh, that is hilarious.
So there wasn't anything to pray about. But I didn't tell him that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, God had answered to the dime.
He had.
Right down the list without you having to say anything.
Didn't say a word.
Without you having to push anything.
Nope.
You just trusted
No.
God and said, if it don't, we won't.
Yeah,
if
that
he
was
does, we'll know.
Yeah.
And he made it where you didn't have to question or wonder.
And so we turned around and headed home. By the time I got home, which was about an hour and 10-minute drive, phone rang. It was him. He said, Brother Chuck, have you prayed about it? I said, yes, Brother Krug. I said, I'll accept the position.
Wow. To God be the glory.
Now, I can say this to you. In all these years, and I've told him this more than once. She and I have never, ever questioned our call. We've had a building collapse when that women's work was being done. That building came down. The contractor was a Christian man. His insurance only covered new construction. It didn't cover renovation. We didn't know it.
Oh, my.
The mission had to eat that. We had to pay $56,000 to haul the debris out before we laid the first part of the foundation.
To even start over.
In a year and a half from the time it came down, it was dedicated, debt-free. We didn't borrow a dime we didn't borrow any money from the government. We never borrowed a dime from the bank. It was debt-free, paid in full. As we went, God sent the money in.
Wow.
On top of providing for the rest of it, what it cost to run the mission.
Wow.
Okay?
Amazing.
When that building came down, and our board was in there 2 o'clock in the morning, because what happened was when they were renovating that old building, it was only 2 bricks wide. We didn't know it. It didn't even have a concrete footers. It was built back in the 1800s.
Right.
But they were in there with a bobcat, and what was holding it up was these beams that they had pushed dirt up to buttress it.
Oh, my goodness.
And they were in there moving that around with a bobcat, and all of a sudden these big cracks came down the walls. And I'm in there 4:30 in the afternoon with the supervisor, the construction supervisor.
Whoa.
And I said, "How long have those cracks been in there?" He said, "I don't know. I don't remember them here yesterday."
Oh, no.
This is the Karras home.
Yeah, the carousel.
Right, the women's side.
So 10 o'clock that night, I get a phone call. The building's come down. There was a guy underneath it who we had to throw out for being drunk and disorderly.
Oh.
He was in the basement.
Oh,
Yeah, he was down in the basement.
goodness.
We had to get the Montgomery County cave-in unit
To come
to come and get him.
Oh,
And they got him out of there. He didn't even have a broken bone. All he saw was all
God.
these lights, and he ran down the street. He thought he was going to get locked up. We never have seen him.
my
But-
goodness.
But through all of that whole year and a half and the whole nightmare, we never
Never had to question.
Never have doubted.
God removed every doubt.
We've had people try to sue us for the most ridiculous things. We have never doubted. I'm telling you, I've told him, I'll tell the world. You cannot get me to question my call to the Baltimore Rescue Mission, and that's why I'm staying.
Hallelujah.
He called me to quit. He called me to serve.
Whoo, he did not call us to quit. He called us to serve.
Yes, sir.
Wow. My goodness. Brother George, you're there now serving alongside Brother Bittner and leading the ministry in that lady's home,
Full every night.
full every night.
Souls being saved.
Souls
Yes,
being
sir.
saved,
Yes,
ladies
sir.
being discipled, battle still happening,
Yep.
and we facing things we never thought we'd face
Yeah.
with this woke agenda and the
Right.
movement. But God still using, still going.
Now, one of the things that presented itself when Brother Chuck brought me in, and he said to me, "I'd like to stay on as your chaplain." I needed a chaplain.
Right.
Now, I'm going to be honest. This is a no-brainer.
yeah.
He just said, "Would you pray on it?"
Yeah.
That
Right.
prayer was a quick prayer.
Pretty quick, yeah.
A
Well,
pretty quick answer,
like
too.
you said, the Lord made that pretty easy, clear.
I said, this is not like a local pastorate
Right.
at a local church where people sidestep you and go to the old man of God that's still there and
Right,
try to
right.
I'm coming into this new. You got a man who's been there 36 years,
Yes.
seen it all.
Yeah, you're not gonna face it that he hadn't already tasted it.
To have, and the fact that I've got his wife there as not only the administrative assistant but the Karras director,
Oh man.
to have him there, to be able to glean on,
Yeah.
confer to,
Man,
Seek that godly wisdom.
that's the good hand of God.
That is just more than just a good hand of God. That's God not leaving us helpless,
Well, that's good.
not leaving us alone.
Right.
And
Yeah, it's almost a Moses moment, isn't it, where you're like, Lord, this is big, and God says, well, I've got an errand. He's coming. Just wait. He's going to be here in a second. He's already on his way, right? When that happened,
Yeah.
he's talking with God at the burning bush. God said, oh, by the way,
He was already on the
Aaron's,
board.
Aaron's on. He's already here.
He's already on the board.
He was already serving on the board.
Absolutely. We already knew him.
It just, man.
the fact that I grew up 10 blocks from there, right up the street.
So
But-
who knew, Brother George, when God started working on a backslid Christian? You called here 24 years ago and walked in the door on Palm Sunday. 24 years later, we'd be sitting here. The guy you talked to on the phone is now has the honor to serve in his pastor's place.
Yeah.
And you came alongside and served beside him for decades, and then served beside me for a decade. Now you're serving beside him for a decade and leading the ministry that God established 70 years ago.
And here's the wonderful thing. One of the things we pray for every single day is revival.
Amen. Yes, we do.
And we both agree it has to be personal first.
It has to be personal.
As he says it, I get all the headaches and he gets to do what he loves to do.
Right.
Hey, it's about
Amen.
time.
It is
Brother
about
Bittner.
time. I'll take it.
What a blessing.
But to me, they're not headaches.
Right.
I get to serve God. And you know this.
Yes.
How many times did I come to you? I just want to serve
I
God.
just want to serve, Lord, preacher, wherever you need me, wherever you want me. He was already carrying 2 rucksacks and a preacher on his back, and he said, "Where can I serve?" God knew.
Yeah.
God
knows
had
our
it all.
hearts. He
And
knows our
I
hearts.
told Brother Chuck this. I would have been happy just being your assistant.
Right.
But we pray for revival every single
Yeah, we
day.
do.
God's been doing the work on one of the first books. Now, you wouldn't think that a young preacher could give him something. One of the first books I gave him is Why Revival Tarries.
Oh, Leonard
Yeah,
Ravenhill.
indeed.
He said, why did I do that to him?
That's the truth. Isn't it,
Yeah,
Brother
tear you
Bittner?
up.
And when I first got there, the year-end numbers, I think, for 2022, that we knew of, we only saw 66 people saved.
Only. I wish I only saw 66 people saved a year. But I understand what you're saying.
Last year that we know of, 112.
Wow.
But ever since we've been praying for revival and God to do a work,
We're seeing it.
We're seeing
God
it.
is. And I mean, Muslims, we've seen Muslims
Being
get
born.
saved.
Yes, indeed. Yes, we have.
Wow. Well, we need to do this again another day
Okay.
and talk about those 36 years.
Okay.
And not just what God did. I mean, I want to hear some of the things God's done over those 36 years, and then the last 3 years, what God's doing in you and your wife's life, and then the ministry. And we'll talk about how God did the transition and some of those things next time. Don't forget to come back next time, and we'll do another interview with Brother Bittner and Brother Jones. I hope you enjoyed what you heard today. May God bless you. And I sure am thankful that God's got some men that are willing to go the second mile. If you're enjoying the Iron Men Men of the Second Mile podcast, please give us a follow on Spotify or a subscribe on the YouTube channel. Both of those actions will help us drive this into the public forum. Your comments can make a big difference, and also the feedback you give us will help us improve in the days ahead. We appreciate you and hope you'll continue to listen to the Iron Men Men of the Second Mile podcast.